What can you tell me about why you've been sent over here? They think you've been faking it in order to get out of your work detail.
Do I look like that kind of guy to you, Doc?
Medication time.
Yummy.
Do you want to say something to the group, Mr. McMurphy?
Not a thing, Doc. I'm a goddamn marvel of modern science.
Want to watch the ball game, baseball?
I only count 9 votes, Mr. McMurphy.
I want that television set turned on. The chief. Stop this immediately.
What nurse, man?
Sit down.
He's dangerous.
Hey, what the hell is going on here? Hold it. How about it, you creep, you lunatics? You think you crazy or something? Well, you're not. You're not.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Parallax Review, a retrospective podcast about films from 50 years ago. Great films resonate through time while others are lost. We think some of these films deserve to be part of the conversation. I'm Ben Caldwell, and my co-host Jim Vanderhorst and I are going to be talking about those movies. And we have a special guest with us today. Spencer.kanaka.sacht.lund, who works in media, is joining us. Hello, Spencer.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, we've been talking about doing this one all year, so stoked to finally get to it. This is going to be our season finale. We like to end with like the best picture winner of the movie of the year, except for next year when it's going to be Rocky, and we'll end with something else because everyone's talked about Rocky enough. But One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest always deserves to be spoken about more. It's just like an amazing movie that maybe modern audiences don't know as well. The movie ends with the revelation that a character that's been mute. We're going to spoil a 50-year-old movie. Just spoilers. We're going to talk about that. Hope you've seen it. Please go and watch it because it's great. And then we'll come back and you can listen to this and we'll talk about it. But it ends with a character revealing that they can actually speak and think and talk and act on their own will. And they escape. It's a scene that you've probably seen parodied in The Simpsons if you didn't see it in real life. Like most things, it was canonized by The Simpsons in the early 90s. So I appreciate that because I knew what I was watching when I got into it. I just recognized it right away. Although my brother read it when he was in high school. And there was a lot of people. There was always somebody around that was reading it. Ken Kesey was really popular. He wrote it as a mental ward aid, and then went on to found the electric Kool-Aid acid test movement and drive around North America in a bus called Further. So there's a whole lot to be told about that. That's talked about in the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test, a book by Tom Wolfe, which we were talking about in the group chat about this. Is kind of like the aliens to this movie's Alien. Like this movie is about the effect of one counterculture radical bucking the system. And the Acid Test is like another writer taking on the story and telling the story of a whole bunch of other radicals and then trying to spread it on a larger scale, right? Like how Alien expanded it. I just thought that was a funny little comparison because the two are definitely linked by that, right? We haven't seen a great Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test movie yet, but I think it would be a companion piece to this no matter what.
Maybe not as nihilistic, but it's also got a bit of Train Spotting vibes.
Yeah, I can see that. There's definitely influence on it, like Renton and McMurphy. Although I think McMurphy is a better dude than Renton, ultimately.
Very, very true.
Wow.
Although, do you think by saying that, we're just condemning Jack Nicholson? Because he's essentially just playing himself.
Well, I'm saying McMurphy's the better guy, right? Renton, McGregor is the worst guy.
Yeah, because he betrays his friends. Where
I definitely feel that, like,
this
from
is
what
his
I've
chance
seen,
to escape because of it.
Yeah. From what I've seen, though, I think McGregor might be a better, cooler guy to hang out with than Jack Nicholson. Most of the stories about Jack Nicholson are like, oh, it took this much to turn the man down in the 80s. He had his dick out everywhere. That kind of stuff.
A lot of dick out stories with that guy.
He really took his penis out as much as he could. I don't know if you've heard the famous like Gina Davis story, but she used a line given to him by Justin Hoffman to turn him down. She said, well, if we ever get cast as like romantic interests in a film, then we wouldn't have that chemistry anymore if we've already had sex. And he was really impressed by that. And so they both told that story a bunch. But that was who Jack Nicholson was. You had to have strategy to turn the man down if you wanted to fuck you.
Yeah.
He has moxie.
Oh, he's got swagger. He just carries this whole movie on his shoulders. I get why the studio wanted him. This is a case where the studio wanted this guy to be the main character, and I think they were right. You know, it was his third year in a row getting nominated for Best Actor, and he finally won for it. And fair. Like, what did we just watch a couple weeks ago that also had a great performance that we thought was... Oh, was it Dog Day? Was it Pacino in Dog Day? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is great, but this is Nicholson's just so perfect for this role. It's the ultimate combination of character. Like Burt Reynolds wanted to play this role and that just wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't have been a great film with Burt Reynolds at the center.
Well, originally this was going to be Kirk Douglas, right? Like he was the one that got the idea to do this movie.
Yeah.
And then I think
he did it right away as a play. The year it came out, he did it as a play.
Right.
He had Gene Wilder playing Billy Bibbit, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And it kind of tanked. It played for about 3 months and then was revived as an off-Broadway play in the early 70s. And that's actually when Danny DeVito took his part because he played his character in a play in the version in the 70s. And then he became part of the film, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like unrecognizable in this film. Even though he's just the same old little Danny DeVito, he was so good as Martini. Yeah,
he takes a while to really recognize. He's really in the character. It makes sense. He's been playing the guy for 5 years, right? He really knows what he's doing. But there's this great quote by Vincent Schiavelli, who was also one of the inmates, and he's a character actor that you have seen in something over the years. There's no way you haven't. He's been everything at some point. And he said we had to become the version of ourselves that would be in a mental ward to be in this film.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time they're just free-walling and just reacting to crazy things, and Nicholson's leading things. Nicholson really led the film almost as much as Forman. He actually held a revolt in the first couple weeks of production and was leading the actor run throughs himself because Forman envisioned that the whole place would be a madhouse as soon as McMurphy got there. But Nicholson thought it made more sense if Murphy made the place get crazier by his presence. And
yeah, that totally makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it's a much more interesting dramatic role. The progression, the tension rises and everything. And obviously Forman is a great director on his own. Stuff like The Fireman's Ball got him smuggled out of the USSR because it was so good. Mm-hmm. And then he went on to also win a Best Picture and Director for Amadeus, which is another fantastic movie. Maybe a little bit more restrained.
Well, that was part of the reason that Kirk Douglas didn't get this made is they tried to get the script or the concept to Forman, the book, I guess, and the Soviet government took it away and stopped him from reading it.
And Forman was offended because he just thought that Kirk Douglas had never sent it to him after promising he would.
Right.
And Kirk Douglas was offended because he never heard back from Forman about it. Obviously, the Iron Curtain was strong, and that's what happened to it. And when Michael Douglas eventually came back to Milos Forman, he didn't even know that Kirk Douglas had originally pitched it to Forman in the first place. It was like,
that's crazy.
He was really meant to be the guy. It was almost Hal Ashby, and he had to drop out for a bit. I think that would have been a good version as well. I think he would have got it.
I'm surprised Michael Douglas didn't want the role for himself.
I think he didn't have the clout. And
probably did.
He'd failed as a TV actor at this point. Can you think of early 70s Michael Douglas films that are big hits? No, he kind of shows up around the late 70s, really, as a lead.
I'm just picturing Michael Douglas in the scene where they're bringing him into the hospital, and he's like, when you have that 15-year-old beaver, like it's just, he would have been so gross because he was such a like sexual actor. Yeah.
It felt like the script was trying to minimize it and make it be like, oh, he's not that bad a guy. He's accidentally fucked this 15-year-old girl. But then Jack makes sure it's like, no, he's just that guy. He's gross. It's a really interesting choice because it makes him really repellent to modern audiences. But I think it would have been a thing that would have made him more understandable and likable to people in the 70s.
Oh, I mean, statutory rape, that was like as big as leaded gasoline in those days, really. And smoking indoors. Like it was all part and parcel of the 70s, I'm sure.
Yeah. Absolutely, right? It was like a time where the restrictions on everything were not as bad and people were old-timey about a lot of things. Tradition was more rooted. But I think now, this movie would not get made like this. McMurphy would be edited down or changed in a big way so that the main character of a big film wouldn't be an ephebophile.
Mm-hmm. They call it ephebophilia. It's not that big a deal. I'm not a pedophile.
It's not the same thing, man. So right away we're dealing with tough stuff, and I kind of get why people would have read this and been like, "Oh, okay, yep, I'm throwing this to the censor board." Like it's a great work, but I get why scaredy motherfuckers would get scaredy about it.
Yeah. What were you saying, Spencer?
I was just saying, like, just speaking about how that movie's aged, and maybe like obviously there's lots of elements of like sexism and like racial stereotypes and things. But I think one of the things that's important to note for the time is actually for like Native Americans, like it was really huge in media specifically because it kind of portrayed a Native American in a role, kind of like breaking some stereotypes, and also like a Native American playing a Native American person. Which kind of like let other people like Wes Studi obviously and Chief Jan George kind of do other roles as well.
Yeah,
totally. Chief was like the best part of this film, really. Like,
oh, he's fantastic,
truly, in my opinion.
I think that even though his narration, which like the book is from his first person perspective, so the twist that he is fully conscious is a twist at the end of the film that does not exist in the book. In the book, the whole time that he's got it all together, and you're also hearing his like ranting and raving about what he calls the Combine, which is like the combination of all of the government forces of the world that through both real physical violence and social pressures control everybody and everything in society. And Ken Kesey tried to include this in his script by having lots of like voiceovers of the chief saying all of these things that Kesey believed. And ultimately, Forman and Nicholson AL wanted to do this twist version where it turns out that the chief is fully conscious at the end of the film, which makes it a great movie, but it also does make it lose like maybe Casey's baby, right? His favorite part of what he wrote. And so he sues them and he winds up getting like 2.5% of the profits forever.
Wow.
Yeah. In addition to his original fee.
Respect, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like they promised him that they would leave that in, and they ultimately didn't. I think there's lots of like elements of it. I think Foucault would still approve of the film as being a representation of, how Louise Fletcher's character uses intimidation and force and social force to condition people into living a worse life. And I think that's like the point gets across maybe more subtly in a more universal way. It's possible that somebody ranting about the Combine might have thrown it off, but I think there was maybe room for them to maybe insert another character that was saying these things. They were very faithful. Yeah. Almost every character is note for note the same, having the same experience. Give or take a couple days here and there, Mancini survives a little bit longer in the movie than he does in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Little details.
Interesting. I guess before we get too much further, we should mention we are discussing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was directed by Milos Forman, written by Lawrence Hobben and Bo Goldman, based on the novel by Ken Kesey. The film did earn 163 million worldwide, which is more than 900 million in today's dollars, off of a 4.4 million dollar budget. So a huge box office success that I don't think we would see today with a similar grown-up style film like this.
No, this would be lucky to make 50 million tops.
Mm-hmm. Was this rated R?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Bet your fanny. So all that talk of like biggest R-rated movie ever for Deadpool is entirely judged by inflation. Inflation is a very, very helpful element when Hollywood is bragging about its statistics, right?
Right.
If you compare tickets sold, it's a different story. People used to just go to the movies more because there was way less competition for entertainment, right? There's so many other things you can do. In today's world, there's like 400 channels. There's YouTube, so you can just directly control whatever you want to experience at any moment.
And you never have to leave your house.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it too. Like when I was a kid, my grandma told me, because she was born in the 20s, so she would have been working in the 30s and 40s. She was like a piano player in the silent film theaters. And so like in those days they would have like the serials, right? They started in radio and then they moved into the theater, and you'd actually have to like leave your house, go to the movie theater, and there'd be like a film reel with like the news of the week and, updates about war and whatever's going on. And then there'd be like some short films, maybe a cartoon for the kids, and you get, an hour, 2 hours, whatever of entertainment for your nickel. And yeah, there was like a job for when it was silent films to play the piano between and just have like songs that they would play for different, I guess, genres.
Yeah, it's where the Nickelodeon came from. That whole culture.
Interesting. So like nowadays it's so much different,
No, nowadays, like it's instead of being conditioned to believe one thing, we're being conditioned into these other rabbit holes where like we're always constantly surprised by what some other group is thinking or doing or saying, and are constantly shocked and appalled by them. Who's to say what was better? I think there was a whole maybe more crimes going on back then, except for this exact year. This year has been pretty fucking wild. But until then, we were just at like a steady bloodletting for capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah, I think New York City was more dangerous than it was ever, maybe up until the 90s, and then it tapered off after that, for example.
It was Charles Bronson's New York City. They made this. Although this is set in Oregon, in a real mental hospital. They worked
shot in the hospital that it was based on, right? In the novel. Yeah.
Yeah, they worked alongside mental patients and stayed in barracks, and they had mental patients that were capable working on the crew with them. So on average, each member of the crew was working with 2 or 3 different mental patients a day, just as part of the daily life there. So they really, really immersed themselves in this. The dean who runs the place actually plays Dr. Spivey in the film. He gave them free reign to do whatever they wanted in the film, which is part of why they're able to like figure out and shoot everything so well, right? Like, it was nominated. It's a movie. It's set entirely in white rooms with muted accents that got nominated for best cinematography, despite a snafu of multiple cinematographers.
So the opening and closing shots alone were pretty gorgeous. Yeah.
It's a movie that really finds a lot of beauty to express itself in a rather bleak story. Know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. The music and the sound editing too were really good.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, it took them from January to April 75 to make it, and then they released it in November of 1975. Nominated for 5 Golden Globes, 8 BAFTAs, 9 Academy Awards. It won every Golden Globe that it was nominated for, all but 2 BAFTAs and Oscars for producers Douglas and Saul Zaentz. Director Milos Forman, the lead actors in the screenplay. Cuckoo's Nest stars Jack Nicholson, Louise Fletcher, Will Sampson, Brad Dourif, Christopher Lloyd, and Danny DeVito. So, without further ado, any other ideas, any other tidbits before we jump into it?
Well, just what a cast for one. This was
Yeah.
This was Christopher Lloyd and Brad Dourif's first films. Dourif would get an Oscar nomination for it.
He was so good.
Oh, he's incredible. For me, I don't know about you guys, but my experience with Brad Dourif growing up was that like he was in B movie bullshit. He was a guy who would show up as a guest star on Star Trek Voyager or Babylon 5 or whatever, like he was not a credible guy. I knew that he was the voice of Chucky, right? But then when I saw him in this, it was like, oh, he's actually a great actor. What happened? This was before Lord of the Rings, and he kind of came back into a little bit more of renown. He like followed that up with some like A-list shit like Deadwood and the Halloween remake. He's the sheriff in that. Like that's a big deal. That Rob Zombie one.
Brad Dourif was in Deadwood.
Yeah. Hold on here. He was in 36. He was the doctor.
Oh yeah,
He's incredible in it. He's fantastic. I was very happy for him that he got that good role before he had to go back to making the likes of Priest and Ginger Clown and Cult of Chucky.
Apparently, he's retired except for any Chucky-related projects.
Well, he's in The Pit, that new TV show with Noah Wiley.
He made an exception for The Pit.
Maybe the lure of A-list stuff got him back out of it. Like he's made his money finally, and he's like,
I'll quit act. He's like, I'll quit acting, except for my baby Chucky and anything that HBO does.
It's a great way to market yourself, right? As like suddenly choosier and having more weight. Like you got to pull me out. You got to do something.
Except for Chucky. I mean, like I actually have a soft spot in my heart for like old school horror anthologies, but that one's very silly. But he must really love it.
It's got to be a fun job, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get to those. That was a movie that like it was one of the movies that I saw as a kid that was real scary to me. I just saw it on TV and it was just too much, even the censored stuff. It had the little doll running around. It was just really fucked me up. So that's one that I haven't gotten to, but I mean, I just watched the Leprechaun series, so my bar is obviously getting pretty low here. I might as well do the Child's Play series.
I would put Leprechaun.
The bad guy's getting smaller every time.
Wow, that's a great tagline. I definitely think I'd put Leprechaun at kind of like the bottom of the old school horror movies, but it's also whatever that's very silly and kind of is making fun of the entire like thematic franchises.
I like Leprechaun in Space and Leprechaun in the Hood have that vibe. The first three Leprechauns are just like earnestly trying to make a terrible concept work with the most minimal of effort. Although the third one has a magician that runs into him, and I thought like, okay, there's the movie. If you were going to remake Leprechaun, having him fight a small-time tricks magician, that would be the right person to actually have an interesting exchange with. That'd be visually fun. So there's stuff to be mined there, but I did love how Leprechaun in the Hood, spoiler for a 25-year-old movie, ends with like him getting his way and like the guy selling his soul to the leprechaun for rapping talent. Just an incredible way to end a film.
Also just an incredible way for Warwick Davis to really stretch himself after doing so many great movies.
Yeah, he kept himself in work at a time when it's hard out there to get little people work, especially little people work that isn't objectifying. I remember that whole little people community got so fucking mad at Peter Dinklage when he gave Disney shit for Snow White and made them not hire little people for that. And they were like, great, dude, you just denied the little people community $900,000 jobs. Like we don't get work like that often. What's wrong with you? And Peter Dinklage was like, oh shit.
Thanks a lot, Rick.
He's like, he forgot that he was the only guy that gets those roles. And unless he's got to make those roles, I think, because people aren't going to think about, God, with so many other groups that have, a little bit more of a story against them. Little people are a fucking hard sell. He should be producing stuff, I think. I think that would be great.
Yeah, little people often overlooked, unfortunately.
Yeah, like you look around and I can't remember the last time I saw something that had a little. I can't remember the last time I saw something that had like a serious little person role. Honestly, they used to get way more work in the 2000s and such, right?
I think Peter
I
Dinklage
feel
just
like
kind of like
David
monopolized it. Yeah.
Lynch did
He is.
a little bit.
I think it's like all going to Peter Dinklage now, and it's like great that he'll do, like he'll play Boulevard Trask, who had been played in the previous movie by a 6.5 foot tall black guy. So it's cool that he's doing stuff like that, taking roles meant for considered more normal sized humans. But like, where's the Seinfeld show that has all of those great little people actors on it?
Well,
Those.
Warwick Davis still does the Harry Potter stuff.
Oh, I bet Warwick Davis is coming
Hey,
back for
in
Harry
fairness
Potter
to
too.
Seinfeld, not that I would defend Seinfeld, but they did actually have a little person for those last couple seasons.
No, they had great little person stuff. I'm saying, where is the Seinfeld? Like that was a great role.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
When I think of good,
I thought
roles
I
for
was
little
picturing
people,
a show about nothing full of little people.
oh, like an all little people Seinfeld. I'm down.
Yeah.
There's just like one tall guy, and no one ever talks about it. It's kind of like
That's
crunch
my
in
new
to fit
friend.
into custom made stuff. I don't know. Maybe this is totally offensive. Leaving it in. Let's move on.
Excellent. So, as we mentioned, it's based on a real place, right? This Oregon mental institution, set in 1963. We've got our
Based in a California
protagonist.
mental institution because Casey worked at one in Southern California. It was just
Oh.
that Oregon was like, it was the fourth place they looked and they found a place they liked. So, yeah.
For some reason, I misread it. I thought that this was the institution it was based on that they filmed in.
No, it was something Meadow, a different
Okay.
place. Yeah.
Terrific. So we've got R.P. McMurphy, which is he's known for being a little rapey. So R.P. is not a bad name for this guy. A recidivist, anti-authoritarian criminal, and he's serving a short sentence on a prison farm for statutory sexual assault of a 15-year-old girl, and then they transfer him to a mental institution for evaluation. So this is like where we meet the character. At first, it's just like this miserable place. The Nurse Ratched, when she first comes in, she's really quiet. She slams the metal door. All those sad people lining up to take their pills. And then all of a sudden, this sort of ray of sunshine, maybe like dark, evil sunshine, but sunshine nonetheless. R.P. McMurphy shows up, and as soon as he shows up, he starts changing things. And almost immediately, the first person they notice he talked to is Chief. And
Yeah, he tries to get a
What do you
rise
guys
out of
think?
Chief right away.
Yeah.
I think you can see there's intelligence in the Chief's eyes, and he's looking for that in this place where, you make eye contact and you don't know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates when you're in a place like that.
Yeah. And I think he's hamming it up a little bit because he's trying to show them that he's crazy so that he doesn't have to go back to jail, right? Like that's kind of, or to work camp.
Yeah. So I'm not asking for me. I'm just saying, for the audience's sake, why don't we define what recidivist is for the audience?
Yeah. That's like a person who just keeps going back to jail and doing crimes and getting out and going back in because they just can't break the cycle.
A repeat offender. That makes sense.
Recidivism, Randy.
Yeah, in the book, it was like he
Trailer
also
Park
was in the book. His crimes also included violent assault and gambling, which I didn't even know was illegal. And if you're not gambling on yourself in some way, but I guess in some states in 1962, when this is written and set, I like that.
I mean, that's why Las Vegas existed, right? Like,
Oh, was it
it's the
like
only place you can
designed as a
gamble
place to where it was legal
openly.
to gamble? Cool.
Yeah, because Cuba got the revolution, and that used to be where Americans would go to gamble and do prostitution
Right.
stuff,
And watch like
and
naked
the revolution.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the revolution happened, and they moved. The same gangsters just moved it to Las Vegas, Nevada.
100%. That's what Godfather 2 is about.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And
So
if
yeah,
you're not familiar with Godfather 2, check out our episode from our first season.
Where we also cover Godfather 1 in a single marathon episode. Holy shit. I'm tired
That's
just
fun.
thinking about that one. So yeah, McMurphy's ward is run by a steely, unyielding nurse named Mildred Ratchet. She was just called Nurse Ratchet in the book. Louise Fletcher herself decided to call her Nurse Ratchet. It was also almost Lily Tomlin, but
Oh, that would
after
have been interesting.
yeah, after a year of repeatedly having Louise Fletcher audition, Forman decided to cast Fletcher, but she was cast in Nashville. So Lily Tomlin just stepped in and took her part, and that led to a career of collaborating with Allman. Right? Like I remember her part in
Wow.
what was that movie that had a whole ton of people in it? That was about this L.A. earthquake. You know, the one with Robert Downey
Um,
Jr. and Chris Penn.
yeah, yeah. It's based on like a short story guy.
Shortcuts.
Bunch of his short stories.
Raymond
Shortcuts,
Carver
yeah.
one. Shortcuts. Like Lily Tomlin stood out so much in that for me.
Yeah, she was good.
Oh, she's fantastic. So yeah, kind of a Star Wars Carrie Fisher, Sissy Spacek, Carrie situation. Wow, that would have been so
Fascinating
good.
what
Carrie
direction they could have gone. Hey, yeah.
You know, I've heard that story so many times that Carrie Fisher and Sissy Spacek switch parts, but man, how fucking weird would it have been if Carrie Fisher was Carrie? She never would have been able to play anything else ever again. If she thought her career was pigeonholed after Star Wars.
Right.
Carrie. I think if Tony Danza's first TV show was had him playing a character named Tony. How embarrassing would that be, right?
Those decades are also full of so many actors like getting like these random quintessential roles and then really like launching their careers. Whereas these days, people just would rather develop someone because they feel like the star power is probably not worth the money. A lot of times, like that's HBO's kind of like MO, right? Like they have a stable of theater actors they go after.
Yeah, if they like
Yeah,
you, they're
good
gonna
call.
add, they're gonna try and get you in the next show that they do, you know? Like they kept coming back to Kit Harington and be like, "Hey, we loved you in Game of Thrones. Do whatever. Do this industry show. Whatever. Just do it. We like you." It's kind of like how the studios used to have their favorite players. You know, like at the time, Nicholson was doing a lot with I think it was Warner Brothers, and they were really happy with him.
Mhm.
Whichever studio, he made a bunch with them.
In between him having sex with half of Hollywood.
Yes, and dating Angelica Houston at the same time, which must have been fun for her. Is someone
Yeah, he
trying to?
seems like he's quite the Lothario.
Yeah,
Lothario.
yeah. A crazy libido out of control. Okay, so
It's so
McMurphy
funny to
finds
see him today.
what?
Just because he's like, oh, just Nicholson. He's so out of shape now. And you saw like that time that he spilled chili when he was at the Lakers game, and then he wasn't allowed to sit in the front row anymore. And then there's like even more recent pictures of him like out on some lake or something with some ladies, and he's like eating a Subway sandwich with his shirt off, and it's just like chef's kiss. Like just amazing that he can think that he's still got anything to offer anybody at his
Well, I
age.
mean, it
And
seems like he does,
you
right?
know,
Because he was with some women in that story. Sure, that's all he
yeah.
wants is just some girls and Subway sandwiches. It's like he says in The Departed, right? He doesn't need pussy anymore. He just likes the taste. That wasn't the character speaking. That wasn't Frank Costello. That was Jack Nicholson.
I didn't
Yet
realize
another
they were
movie.
filming.
Oh,
But
yet
what-
another movie. I think he's playing himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She fell
Almost all the
funny,
time.
he said.
Like it's so funny when he shows up in terms of endearment and he's just playing himself and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm an astronaut." Like, okay. McMurphy finds that the inmates are more fearful of Ratchet than they are focused on becoming functional in the outside world. He establishes himself immediately as the leader. His fellow patients include Billy Bibbit, who's Brad Dourif, as we talked about, a nervous,
Which is
stuttering young guy.
such an unfortunate name for a stutterer.
Yeah, right.
Billy stuff.
Yeah, he was damned to this. Charlie Cheswick, played by Sidney Lassick, a man disposed to childish fits of temper. He's kind of a sidekick character. Frank Murphy. We got Martini by Dan DeVito. He's delusional. Dale Harding, played by William Redfield, a high-strung, well-educated paranoid. The head doctor was such a legit doctor that he correctly diagnosed Redfield with leukemia, which he died from about 18 months after making this movie.
Whoa.
So this is one of his final performances. Yeah. We've also got Max Tabor, Christopher Lloyd, who is belligerent and profane. I love his swearing fits. It's just so funny because you're used to seeing him in family stuff, and boom, here he is, Bob Sageting. We also have Jim Seafelt, played by William Dewell. I totally forget this guy, even having just watched this movie. And most importantly, Chief Bromden Will Sampson, a silent American indigenous believed to be deaf and mute.
He does want to go to Canada. Is he Canadian or is he American?
McMurphy?
No,
I mean,
Chief.
I
It's
just
one of the
think
few
that
things Chief says. He's like Canada, right? Like
they probably had the illusion back then that Canada was better to Indigenous folks. Like, I don't know, Spencer, you might be more of an expert on this. Like, do people feel today, or was it historically felt, that Indigenous people are safer in Canada than the USA? I've always heard that Indigenous people are abused and harassed as much, if not more, than young Black people by our police.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think that would have been the perception maybe back then, but like there's so much cross-border stuff. Like there's a thing called the Jay Treaty. So like a lot of Native people can just travel back and forth through the United States and Canada without like the normal process. So there's always been like a lot of back and forth travel, especially if you're kind of, but not so much because it's set in California, I guess, but like if you're actually like in Oregon or Montana, like Alberta, the prairies, like a lot of nations like are both sides of the border. Same thing with like, Ontario and the Great Lakes region, stuff like that. And even here, like in British Columbia, between like the Salish people and like a lot of them are, in the Vancouver area, a lot of them are in the Seattle area. So like the kind of like the border didn't mean as much. But like how like governments have interacted with them, America's always had a very like conquest attitude towards Indigenous people, whereas Canada, although obviously has a really bad history with Indigenous people, has always tried to have more of an assimilation, but like supposedly a nation kind of treaty system. But as it works out, like the system with the United States makes their territories and their reserves like way more autonomous than they are in Canada. Weirdly enough.
Yeah, I could see that maybe a white person like Casey would believe that it would be better up in Canada because it was better for white men to go up to Canada to like get away from that war, etc. I guess the Vietnam War wasn't happening then. This is the more Korean War era when Casey was living through
the
this
Korean War
stuff.
was over by then.
Yeah, but I
Korean
mean,
War's the 50s.
Casey's experiences were in the 1950s, right? He started writing this, I
Mhm.
think, in 1960 and finished it in 61, and then got it published the next year. I think Kirk Douglas actually got his hands on it before it was even published, just because it was an exciting novel that people knew about before it came out. Because it's so good, right? I think it was a real watershed moment in people understanding how people are treated in mental hospitals, and
Mhm.
was part of positive change. Things aren't great now, but they were so much fucking worse before. It's not even funny. Like sanitariums used to be just absolutely insane places,
Right.
and not because of the people there, because of the people running them. But what were you going to say there?
Just that I was a little nervous about this one because I remember it being so good and I was hoping it aged well. And I feel like it did, like it had some risky stuff. There was some questionable characterizations, but like overall, I think it was pretty good and accurate to this time and place. And like all the character actors really embodied the characters. They weren't just doing like mean or fake impressions. Like it felt really genuine. What are you guys' thoughts on that part of it? Like, do you think these seem like genuine characters? Did this seem like a bunch of actors acting?
Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of reminds me. I don't know if you've ever seen the play "Andrea Has Two Boyfriends," which also takes place in a like an institution. And I always think like that, and that's another play kind of similar to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, maybe inspired by her. And I always think that like when you see it and the actors seem like they've like done some research or they're embodying it in a good way, it comes across fine, but it could very easily be bad. I'm sure if you saw like a student play or like a student um, adaptation of this movie, it would probably not necessarily like carry over well if it didn't involve like good actors that were doing research or that were like embodying the roles, especially at a time when people were definitely probably more method than today, or at least were like embodying like more of a I'm an actor playing this role as opposed to today where people just kind of like do their thing and like say the lines and maybe take on like what their life experiences are. So I think this is because of like the time of when people were doing these roles, they're really just like I am embodying this role or I'm an actor embodying this role, and I think that that kind of goes through because I don't think like to me none of the um, people playing people with particular like handicaps or like institutionalized like mental problems, like none of it seems hammed up to me. And I think like that it would struggle to not feel that way today with that many, you know.
Yeah, especially with how clean
And just I think
and controlled
there's less
everything is
empathy.
today.
There's
Yeah.
less empathy today, you know, and people are less willing to look human. Everyone just wants to look like a movie star and a superhero kind of a character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything's so
it'd be hard to
controlled.
even find the right body types to play and the right facial types to play these roles. No.
I was just watching another movie from the kind of like the 80s with a group of friends the other night, and we're also remarking kind of on a very similar thing. I think it was Cher, and we're like, with the exception of maybe Cher, we're like almost every this movie like looks kind of normal, and I think that's also something I noticed in this movie. The average age is like quite a bit higher, I'd say, for like actors and
Yeah,
also like maybe the age range they're playing. But generally speaking, I'm kind of like these look like average kind of people, and I also think that's something we wouldn't see today.
I agree.
Was it Moonstruck?
Yes.
Yeah, because that is definitely share among the normals for sure. I feel you on that. But yeah, there was a lot more like appreciation of character actors and actors of skill that weren't necessarily as attractive. Now it's kind of like, are you good looking and do you have this skill? Because you need both to like really be handed the ball. And
Yeah.
even then, it's like cautious going because one bad move can derail your like Chris Pines or whatever.
Well, they did get Timothy Chalamet to play this role for sure if they did a modern adaptation.
To play
Hmm.
McMurphy.
Yeah, I'm kind of joking, but maybe not.
Well, we'll get to the remake game at the end of the episode. We'll see what everyone came up with here. I've got my idea. It's definitely a fun part. Okay, yeah. Ben, do you want to see the next paragraph?
Yeah. So as the tension ramps up, McMurphy and Ratched, you know, sort of continue to test one another. McMurphy starts playing like blackjack and card games with the patients to win away everyone's cigarettes. And then in response, Ratched confiscates their cigarettes and rations them out. McMurphy calls on a vote to change the policy because he wants to watch the World Series, which ironically is on right now in 2025. And yeah, she's like, well, we'll put it to a vote. And then, you know, he loses the first vote big time because everyone's a little too nervous and scared.
Oh,
And it's like
because
he
she
starts
throws
rubbing off on them, right?
she plays dirty politics though, right?
McMurphy calls on votes for the ward policy changes to challenge Ratched because he wants to watch the World Series. And the first time they get together to do a vote in their like therapy circle, he and like maybe two other guys put their hands up really timidly, right? And it takes time for him to like start rubbing off on them. And also like at the same time, he's calling for the votes. He's feeling like frustrated by them. And then he's also frustrated that he can't like hear himself think. And he's like asking Ratched to turn the music down. And she's like, no, the music is loud enough for everybody to enjoy it. And I really loved the characterization of Ratched, like the vocal choice and just like the visual, really like stiff, like crazy hair. And like just everything about Ratched was really good.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah. So like it's like as McMurphy is like calling on votes and trying to change the system, he's also being affected by this environment, right? And starting to kind of break a little bit and like showing frustration a lot.
Yeah, she's
So
also
then
really
yeah.
fantastic as the villain in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. She
Mm,
plays Kai Wynn. She's just a boss as a religious leader, fascist, enabler. I'm a big
yeah.
fan of her work there. She should have done more. I'm always stoked whenever I see Louise Fletcher showing up in something. She was in a Tales from the Crypt episode randomly at one point. It's like, good for you. Get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. Do something. That's great.
Yeah. She only got
Um,
like the equivalent of like $60,000 for this, which
well,
is wild. I mean, I know she's
it's
only
not
in about
enough.
17 minutes of the movie. It's like the second shortest performance for that won a lead actress Oscar, but she does make the movie.
Well, she almost dies when Jack Nicholson tries to strangle her to death. I mean,
That too.
that's a
That must
lot.
have been intense to film,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
mostly male cast, a bunch of mental patients on the set. Like at one point, the guy playing Sidney Lassick had to be escorted off set because he was emotionally reacting so much to a scene that people were acting out. But he just like got
Yeah.
lost in the reality of it and freaked out. It was an intense shoot. It
Crazy.
took a long time. Nicholson doesn't like to
So
talk
they have
about it.
well, yeah. I mean, it'd be weird to talk about this. Um, so then there's a scene where he's betting the other patients, trying to get everyone's energy up and get them all excited. And he's like, I'm going to lift this old hydrotherapy console. First, use it to spray them when they're trying to play Monopoly and like wrecks their game. But then he's like, I'm going to lift this thing up and throw it out the window. And he's like, hey, who wants to bet on this? And the neurotic guy, whatever his name was, with the mustache, what was his name
Yeah,
again?
Chesick.
Jessic, sorry, yeah. So he's like, well, I'll bet $25. Like other guys are betting like 10 cents, a dollar. He bets $25 that he can't do it. And he isn't able to do it, right? But he does turn them and says, I tried, God damn it, at least I did that. And like walks out of there kind of frustrated. Um, and it's funny, like the effect of like one person on a whole group of people, because he really does change the dynamic in there with these outbursts and with these excited moments, right? Like he's changing them into more confident men in a weird way. And it seems like a lot of them are just lacking confidence. And obviously Ratchet has had an effect on them over time.
Yeah, like they're voluntary, and I think a lot of these guys would not be institutionalized in today's world at all because they would
Mhm.
have outlets and be able to talk to therapists and talk through some of these things, especially Billy Bibbit, which is kind of the saddest part. It's like, oh, this is the person who probably
Yeah.
would have the most different life of any of these patients. Like DeVito's character, that guy's delusional. He probably was going to end up there no matter what, right? But yeah, Billy Bibbit.
Or just like on a bunch of drugs at home, like, like government issued drugs.
Oh, that too. They probably would just
Yeah.
mark the kid, shut him up.
Yeah.
But at least he'd have more control over his life.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, any thoughts before we move on?
I did want to mention that one scene where they're playing basketball, and once again, McMurphy acknowledges Chief and tries to help him learn how to play basketball, and like really just doesn't want to give up on him, and is trying to show everybody that this is a human being, and he can actually, even if he can't hear you, you can use your hands and wave around and make him hold the ball and show him what to do, and he might
Totally, yeah.
learn. Like
One of the
he's
first
only
things he
person
says
there
to him, actually,
acknowledging him.
yeah, one of the first things he says to him is actually he says that you look like you're a football player, and Will Sampson was a football player in his high school. He was like a star football player.
Right.
And he like looks it, right? He would probably be
He's
great
a
at
big
it.
guy.
Yeah, it's huge.
He's also on the
Man.
rodeo and stuff too. I think this is also like speaks to the
Nice.
time of cinema when there's a lot of like show don't tell. I mean, besides the Chekhov's gun of the fountain thing, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of like it doesn't like today. I feel because the audiences need so much exposition, like subtlety's lost a lot of the time unless it's like trying to be like an art movie. Whereas like
Yeah.
at this time, that doesn't really set the stage necessarily for you, right? Like it kind of just like goes into it, and like you're like, oh, like he has this lifestyle, these people do these jobs, and as it like becomes revealed, there's not like an exposition, or it's not just hitting you over the head with exposition or like stated facts or like we are here and this is why, you know.
Yeah, totally. At this point, I also want to mention that Will Sampson was not an actor at this point. He was like a local park ranger that was the friend of a guy who was cast to play a smaller role in the film, and he just got recommended. And he wound up having like an acting career for the next like 12, 13 years of his life. He passed away in the late 80s, unfortunately, but he was in like Poltergeist 3 and a bunch of other stuff. He was in The Outlaw Josie Wales, Clint Eastwood, right after. So, he popped off. He made some money. It wasn't just a one-hit wonder, one performance, and gone. So they changed this guy's life for the better, which is cool. He got to pay off the benefits of what he did here.
So and then before we get to the next section, they did have a second vote, and this is what you were mentioning earlier, Jim, where everyone in the circle at this point, he's built up their confidence a little bit, and they all vote and agree. The 9 of them that are not catatonic agree to watch the World Series and change the policy for the night. But that's where she's like, no, you got to make somebody else in this room also vote with you, because there's 18 people here actually, and it's dirty games. Like she's rude, she's mean.
Like I said, dirty
he does
politics.
try everybody, right? And he even eventually gets Chief to raise his hand. And at this point, like, it's hard to say if Chief is just raising his hand because he's copying him, or if he heard everything he said and he's wanting to watch the game too. But in any case, it seems like he's won. And even still, Ratchet's like, no, sorry, we closed the vote already and it's over. And so blah, blah, blah. And you can't, like, she's just such a bitch the whole time. And just like putting everyone in their place and just making sure that she's constantly in charge and constantly in control of these mostly voluntary patients, which is crazy that none of them would just leave. But also crazy they use the word crazy. Like the doctors themselves are describing RP in one scene. They're like, well, he's violent, but is he crazy? They're like, no, I don't think he's crazy. Like doctors wouldn't use that word today. You know what I mean? Like,
no, they definitely love to use it up until about 15 years ago, though. So it's that part's definitely believable.
Yeah.
All these people were voluntarily admitted, and they don't want to leave because the outside world is even less safe for them, because the outside world's unsafety is like violence of unpredictable discussions. With them, like, they can mostly predict that she's going to be bad to them, and it's just oppression and it's just social pressure, and it's them being guilted into feeling like, oh, okay, the reason I'm in a bad spot right now is just because of who I am. So they feel safer because, again, it's like it's not overt violence, whereas the outside world, somebody might just attack them for the way they're acting, and I'm guessing in many cases, many of them have. And I think that is why they are staying, even though they don't, even though they're being terrorized, and they know they're being terrorized.
Yeah, they're too afraid to leave, and maybe because of her effects on them, they're more afraid than when they came in.
Yeah, I think that's a big point of Kesey's novel that he feels isn't communicated as well in the movie. Like, he did disown the movie. He doesn't like to talk about it either. Didn't like to. And I get that. But I also feel that it's still a great movie.
Who disowned the movie?
Kesey. He didn't really consider it his film. He considered it Jack Nicholson's movie. And he talked shit about Nicholson's acting, which is really funny. It's like, I can see not liking someone's adaptation of your film, but to say Jack Nicholson's a bad actor, just crawl out of your butt.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to go on?
Yeah, just the last thing after that vote, that's when McMurphy sits down on the couch there and just like pretends to announce the whole game. Like,
that's a great scene. He gets everyone really worked up there. Yeah. See, that's a scene that really works well because of him working all the cast up over time.
That's right. And I picture this as like him having an effect on the place and also the place having an effect on him. You know, like both things happening at the same time, which was interesting to me.
Totally. Completely agree. Okay. So McMurphy steals a hospital bus, herds his colleagues aboard, stops to pick up Candy, a party girl, which is IMDb code for sex worker, I guess, and takes the group deep sea fishing on a commandeered boat. Now, the whole movie was shot in chronological order, except for this scene, which was shot last, and I suspect this is what Bill Butler shot, because he kind of came in at the end to replace
I didn't hear about this part. I know there was different stuff.
Oh yeah, Haskell Wexler filmed most of the movie, but he wasn't getting along with Forman, and eventually Bill Butler comes along and is credited as well. William Fraker, I think, is the cameraman. He's credited with being the DOP at times. I think because Wexler leaves and has to keep shooting. Anyway, they all share the Oscar nomination, but Wexler says that the movie's like mostly his. Studio will say that it's more Butler, but I don't know. We're not hearing from Butler about it. Wexler is a powerful guy. He's a great cinematographer. He also shot Bound for Glory. No, I'll get some better. Come on, give me his filmography here. Haskell Wexler shot In the Heat of the Night, the original Thomas Crown Affair, Bound for Glory, Colors, The Babe, Canadian Bacon.
Oh, classic.
Yeah. So he was a good
mix.
He was a good guy. He was good at his job. I think he knew what he was doing with that film, and like Milos Forman just was clashing with a lot of people, and I think maybe he was just a really prickly guy. It sounds like it took a while for him to get complete control over films in North America.
He was from a different place, like
he
wasn't used to dealing with celebrity, right? Like,
yeah, and he also was very oppressed growing up. Like he felt that the communism from the USSR was like an active oppression ruining his life. So, yeah, he fought. All of his movies that he made in the Iron Curtain were criticisms of everything the government was doing. Mm-hmm. And then he loved America when he came to it, and maybe that's part of why he took out some of the criticisms of it, because he saw it as being, more free. And at a time when, for his perspective and everything, it was the form of communism that the USSR doing had a whole lot of fascism in it. It wasn't the good kind. The hypothetical
fascism.
No, the good kind of fascism. The good kind of communism. Oy.
Yeah, he would have grown up in the time when like the Soviet Union kind of invaded Czechoslovakia, right?
Yeah, right. Like Stalin and post-Stalin times when things were pretty grim. Khrushchev.
A lot of people have a lot of opinions, but he was actually just trying to make the Soviet Union great again. That's all. We're going to bring in a golden curtain around the United States of America.
Okay.
Oh, that's too real.
Yeah.
It's more impressive than iron. It costs more money, but we're looking into it very strongly.
Okay. So McMurphy tells them, I keep getting him confused. R.P. McMurphy, I get him confused with R.J. McReady, the hero from The Thing, who really could have been the same guy in different lives.
And I keep getting it mixed up with McMurdo, which is also The Thing, the McMurdo base, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Weird. Huge Thing connections to this movie.
Got The Thing on our minds.
I'll show you The Thing. No, Jack.
There it is. Okay, so he tells them that they're not nuts, they're fishermen, and they begin to feel faint stirrings of self-determination. They also were feeling faint. It took a long time to shoot that scene, and everybody but Nicholson got seasick. DeVito says that he still gets sick to this day thinking about that scene.
That makes sense. I've worked on a lot of action movies that take place on boats, and it's a nightmare.
I'll bet.
Oh yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I've worked on a flick that a Nicolas Cage like action movie in the Caribbean, and we had like a lot of boat scenes, and it's just like if you're on open water, you have to have like all these divers around. People like obviously get sick. You have all these. You can never get steady cam shots. You can't roll out racking for it. Yeah. So we ended up. I remember like that boat. They had to like put it in this like becalmed lake. Because it was just like too crazy to be on the open seas with it. So I had to like double up the shooting and all the stunts that took place in the water. We had to have all these like divers around because people were like getting shot and falling off the boat and stuff. And yeah, it's just water. Water instantly adds like time, money, stress. I think like anyone who's like writing a script should just be aware like it's a big deal actually.
It's a thing I think about a lot. It's like, why would you write a script with water or snow as major issues that the characters have to contend with? Because then your whole crew has to contend with those things. I remember, like, I worked a couple days as a PA on The Killing, and I came home and my roommate was watching Fargo, and I like flipped out about it because I was just like, I could imagine how terrible it would be to work on Fargo. You're just constantly out in the snow all the time. And like far away from like power lines and stuff. It
I
must
can only
just be a
imagine.
nightmare. Yeah, I can't. I want to write like tropical stuff or stuff set on sets. If you just like, you can condition your ideas to be enjoyably doable. And just to clarify for the audience, Spencer works in production on both films and music festivals, so all sorts of stuff. And any one of the great things about hanging out with Spencer is anytime he can just tell you a story about something from left field, a life that you didn't know he's lived.
Yeah, to speak softly and carry the weird stories about Nicolas Cage's strange diet.
Oh, please tell me. Please tell me like one of the one weirdest thing that he eats.
Super cool dude. But yeah, at that time I don't know, he's doing some sort of strange diet, but he had like basically in the morning he would have soft-boiled eggs and a sugar-free Red Bull and black coffee, and then for lunch he'd have a whole chicken with hard-boiled eggs, and that was it. It's just kind of weird.
I was, without hearing that story ahead of time, I was about to say, "Bring me a whole chicken." I don't know why.
Like no
just figured
vegetables
somehow.
How did his guts work?
I don't know, but
that's
that's what the head chef was sharing and what we're seeing. So I didn't see him eat anything else, so it's pretty weird. There's lots of stars
Just
go
screaming
through.
at the chicken, "Get in the cage!"
I'm sure like so many stars go through like so many crazy like yo-yo diets and like fad diets and stuff because they're always trying to like figure out especially if like they're having to look a certain way or gain a bunch of weight, lose a bunch of weight, like all that stuff. So bad. It's so unhealthy.
My next role is going to be a really scared guy, so I'm eating a lot of chicken because you are what you eat.
I always think about Ryan Gosling gaining like 60 pounds for The Lovely Bones and not telling Peter Jackson he was doing it and showing up super fat. And Peter Jackson being like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're fired." And so like to gain all of that weight and not even get the job, like what kind of damage he put his body through at whatever, 25, 26 years old. Like I guess he could rebound then, but man, it's nuts that actors keep doing it into the 30s, 40s. Like, nice to have the money to do that, I guess. But that's a crazy thing to be doing to your body.
Tough on the kidneys or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like the guts. The guts can't handle it. Wouldn't be
Should ask
surprised if he gets
Christian Bale.
Crohn's disease later. Trying to, pumping up and losing weight like that.
Don't want that.
No. What kind of body type where you can just like be normal and then gain a bunch of weight and then go back to it? Like, I don't believe that Ryan Gosling did the amount of work that Mac did. I probably did. What am I kidding? It's all about money.
Yeah, if you have money and a personal trainer and a dietitian and a chef and everything's taken care of.
Yeah.
I think
it's also like that's your job, right?
Do it.
Totally, right? It's your job to stay in the same shape all movie long, right? So that's why Zac Efron will do 2 workouts a day, and one of them's on set. So they have to have a little mini gym on set. Things like that. Okay,
That's
so
funny.
Yep, go ahead.
Just saying that's funny.
Soon after, when they get back, McMurphy learns that Ratchet and the Doctors have the power to keep him committed indefinitely. Sensing a rising tide of insurrection among the group, Ratchet tightens her grip on everyone, and he's trying to keep himself cool at this point. He finally realizes that there's consequences for his actions here. He tries to calm down. During one of her group humiliation sessions, Cheswick's agitation boils over, and he, McMurphy, and the chief wind up brawling with the orderlies. Then they all get sent to shock shop for electroconvulsive therapy. And Nicholson and Fletcher actually watched electroshock sessions, real ones, live happening to prepare for it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I assume that the doctor administered them. I don't know.
Hmm.
Do you want to take it away,
Big
babe?
reveal. Yeah, big reveal in this scene. So this is where they go upstairs, as they call it, to the electroconvulsive therapy unit. And the people up there, just like you thought the catatonic people downstairs were rough. People upstairs are just out of their minds. You can't even talk to them. They're lying on the floor. They're drooling. It's rough. So McMurphy and the chief are waiting for their turn with Cheswick freaking out kind of in between them and crying. And anyway, so they get them all lined up on this bench and Cheswick's gone. And then it's just Chief and McMurphy. McMurphy offers him a piece of gum and Chief says, "Thank you." And so he's like, "Wait a minute. You can talk. You can hear. Oh my God." Like he's like incredibly delighted by this.
Yeah.
But he realizes he's just doing it to deflect attention off of himself, right? So
Yeah,
then
he
they get
doesn't
their
want to focus.
electroshock treatment. And this is kind of where they start planning on escaping too, right? He's like, "Okay, you and me, pal. Now that I know you're so smart and you've been just, faking this whole time, that's it. We're getting out of here." And this is where he says Canada, says Chief, and like it makes me think he maybe came from there, but maybe he just wants to go there. And I wasn't sure. Anyway, so they go for their treatment, their electroshock therapy, and then when they're just having their group therapy, like belittling session, McMurphy like shuffles in with his like face all looking blank and weird, and he kind of winks at Chief to show that it's just playing around, but everyone else is all worried that he's like been messed up, and then he just like starts laughing and gets everyone laughing, and it's just another thing that gets them that like more confidence and more energy in their group. And then he mentions, in the group session, he's trying to be very polite and patient, but then he says, the next woman he sleeps with will light up like a pinball machine and pay off in silver dollars. And I couldn't help but notice the nurse next to Nurse Ratched kind of like make this little smile over his way for a second and then like straighten her face back out. But it was like just like classic Nicholson. Yeah, great line.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also is
And this
important.
is the point. Sorry, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think it's also an important point in the movie because it also breaks like the strong, silent, stoic Indian trope and shows it's like kind of like a human being behind it. I think it's like if you ever watch like Real Injun, which is like a commentary on like cowboys and Indians and like native people, indigenous people in like Hollywood, that's like kind of like harkens back to this scene a lot as like a moment in like indigenous cinema.
Interesting. Yeah. We did watch Billy Jack the year before this, and that was obviously he wasn't an actual indigenous person, but he was very like tropey, I would say.
Well,
So
he
yeah,
played
nice to
into
see
every
a
stereotype
human.
you could imagine about indigenous folks.
Yeah,
Some of them were
yeah,
like rooted in reality for sure, but it also felt like he wasn't as concerned with authenticity as being credited and seen as a great visionary himself.
right. So yeah, nice to see a real indigenous character being played by a real indigenous person. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. After the electroshock therapy, McMurphy shuffles back onto the ward feigning illness before humorously animating his face and loudly greeting his fellow patients, assuring everyone that the ECT only charged him up all the more, and that the next woman to take him on will light up like a pinball machine and pay off in silver dollars. I don't know. I've never had electroshock therapy. I don't know how believable that was.
Just another Jack Nicholsonism, I'm sure.
I think it is ineffective and it just fucks with people. So basically, it's just some endurance pain for a person that isn't crazy, right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say what it does. Like I've heard magnets can mess with your brain in good and bad ways, and if you have like a magnetic thing on your head, they can shoot magnets into certain parts, and it can help with
Yeah, I
something
don't
like
think that's what this
epilepsy or
is,
something
though.
weird. You know what I
I
mean?
also
But
think
like
that Trump is obsessed
electroshock,
with magnets right
magnetism.
now.
How the fuck do they work? That's my question, folks.
You
How
don't
the fuck?
water
We're
on.
looking into
They're
it
not
very
magnets anymore.
strongly. All of a sudden, they're not magnets anymore. It's amazing. But yeah, like, fuck. So that part where Nicholson walks in at first, it's like he's playing it up, but then he basically does the same thing later on. You know what I mean? And it's like it just takes on a whole different context later. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a nice bit of a callback. So the struggle with Ratchet is taking its toll, though, and with his release date no longer a certainty, McMurphy starts to plan that escape. He phones Candy to bring her friend Rose and some booze to the hospital late one night. They enter through a window after McMurphy bribes the night orderly, Mr. Turkle, Scatman Crothers in the first of many collabs between Nicholson and Jazz from the Transformers. McMurphy and Candy invite the patients into the day room for a Christmas party. The group breaks into the drug locker, puts on music, and enjoys a bacchanalian rampage. At the end of the night, McMurphy and Brompton prepare to climb out the window with all the girls. McMurphy says goodbye to everyone and invites an emotional Billy to escape with them. He declines, saying he's not yet ready to leave the hospital, though he would like to date Candy in the future. McMurphy gets an idea in his head. He sees that Billy's into Candy, so he says, "Oh, you gotta have sex with her right there." Billy's like, "Oh, maybe when I have a free weekend," which is a funny thing to say for a guy with no schedule. Yeah, so Billy and Candy go when they fuck, and the effects of the alcohol and the pilfer medication take their toll on everyone, including McMurphy and the chief, who forget about their plan and they pass out.
Yeah.
So,
and like Nicholson was ready, or sorry, McMurphy was ready to leave, right? But he's like, okay, go have sex with Billy. And then he's telling Rose, he's like, "This only gonna take a few minutes. Come on." Like, it's first time, right? Come on. So like they think it's gonna be quick, and then they pass out and they wake up the next morning and everyone's passed out in bed and on the floor and whatever. So that was his first chance to really get out of there besides the boat trip. But he fucked it up.
yeah, like ultimately he is his own worst enemy, and his bad behavior is what led him down those paths. It's like the question is like, is it right that this is how he was being treated by the system? I think more than is he a person that maybe should be like, maybe his place is more in prison, definitely not in the mental ward, or
Yeah.
maybe prison doesn't work because prison's not reforming him. It's not reforming many people, right? It is reforming some. There's definitely people who get their education in school, come out and do better things. But the overall system, questionable.
Yeah, it's not easy. That's for sure.
This is a part of the movie that actually, because it's like Candy's definitely like a friend of his, like not just a sex worker, like not just a sex worker. I mean, but like she seems to be like a sex worker, maybe, but it never really explains it. It never really explains their friendship or relationship. But this one made me wonder if like they have a relationship, but also maybe like they work together. Like it made me think that because of this and some other behaviors, that he has a bit of like a criminal, underbelly of the city kind of vibe. And it's one of those things that's like, it's just interesting because you will never, like, it doesn't in the movie. I don't know if it goes in the book, but like it doesn't really explain the relationship. It doesn't really explain like what he does outside, but he seems to be a little, play in the gray area of the law and be okay with that.
Yeah, like I get the feeling this guy would fit into any crime movie and maybe not be the hero of it, the book has him getting into gambling and fighting. So he's definitely a problem for society.
But it's kind of like it never really says his background. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't really know what his like gig was. But I kind of appreciate that because it makes you wonder. And this is like kind of like the show don't tell because it's like I infer that, but we never really know, and that's okay. But it's just like an interesting thing about this movie.
I think it makes it easier to put yourself in his shoes that we don't learn too much about him. He just seems like like a really cool version of each one of us.
His really excellent outfit made me think he was maybe a dock worker or like a fisherman or something, like maybe an itinerant worker that would just go around. Like he was like ready to be outside all the time with his little hat and jacket
Yeah,
and stuff.
he looked like a guy who would be in a work camp or two. Totally.
Yeah.
Maybe a
So
little bit
then
of
it's the next
lumberjacking.
morning. Yeah, it could be, right? He's in the Oregon area, California, whatever. So this next morning, Nurse Ratched shows up and those attendants that work with her, and everyone's looking around like, oh, damn. And then the ward's all flipped over. People are passed out everywhere. Obviously, Scatman just gave up at one point, just drank himself to sleep and let them do what they wanted. So he's probably fired. We don't really get to find out. But everyone's all over the floor. Ratched gets the attendants to lock up the window that's just sitting open that any of them could have escaped out of but didn't. Clean up, conduct a head count. Then they realize Billy's missing. And they're like, oh, okay, guys, did Billy leave? And everyone's like giggling. And then they find Billy and Candy in the bed together. And all the patients applaud. And this is where I really felt like this is such a great performance by Brad Dourif. He really like pulls it out here when he comes out and he's like confident and has a smile on his face for the first time. And he just speaks without a stutter. And then immediately Ratched has to just shut him back down and warn him that she's going to tell his mother what he did. And he immediately returns to stuttering, hitting himself, runs out of the room. And then they're like, okay, well, whatever. And then 2 seconds later, the little secondary nurse lady walks in and finds him basically dead already from a self-inflicted wound.
He slices his throat, which is not the classic way to do it. It's brutal.
Crazy. Like really making sure he got the job done. And more of that bright red blood that we saw in the 1975 era movies, probably due to censorship or maybe just because of the way it looked on film.
I remember barely believing what had happened the first time I saw this movie, like 20 years ago or so. I was shocked that it had gone so violent so fast. So that blood does achieve, the effect of violence, even though it's not believable by today's standards.
Yeah, it looks like paint. And this was the last chance that Matt could have run out the window and escaped. Everyone's obviously focused on Billy. And instead of leaving, he just wants to find out what happened to Billy and see what happened. And unfortunately, that's really the last time we see him. He strangles Nurse Ratched, and it looked really realistic. Like I was a little bit I felt a little sick watching that scene where he's just like strangler and he's like throws her on the floor, strangler, and he's just like really going to town on her. And then one of the guards, I guess, hits him with that leather belt that he had wrapped around his hand, which was supposed to be some type of weapon, I guess. But yeah, fucking crazy scene.
Yeah, he's, he definitely comes across as making decisions that are hard to defend, hard to respect. I like that he's consistently never becomes like a generic hero good guy. I feel like Burt Reynolds would have made him become, too much of a good guy.
Yeah.
Too much of a redemption arc. So sometimes later the patients in the ward are playing cards and they're gambling for cigarettes. Before only now with Harding dealing and delivering in a pale imitation of McMurphy's pattern. In the book, Harding was like the leader of the social group before, so it really makes sense that he takes over that position later. Also in the book, like Harding's talking a lot about his wife cheating on him, but in the book we find out by his wife visiting that it's actually Harding that is cheating on her with men. And his guilt over homosexuality is why he's self-institutionalized. That's another thing that I didn't feel really came across in this version.
He seems like a gay man, for sure.
He does. They just don't really,
if they had explored
talk
that.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably would have been too tough for them to do that in the 70s.
Yeah, I think they were getting away with so much on this film. They were just like, well, let's not fight this battle. It's not our battle.
This is the same year as Dog Day Afternoon.
I know, but Dog Day Afternoon hadn't happened. They didn't know that,
Mm.
They didn't know what they could do. And I think it still would have been audacious regardless, right? Like it was a huge, big talked about element of Dog Day Afternoon, right? Like the controversy is part of why it became a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't know that the controversy would be beneficial. They were probably
True.
still,
And it might have distracted. It might have distracted from the main story. There was already so much going on.
yeah. I mean, Dog Day Afternoon even cut out certain things that had happened because they would be distracting from the overall point of the film. Sometimes drama is just too much. And you got to play your card pretty straight and dry for it to be believable, for it to resonate.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, a bunch of the residents immediately get transferred out after the incident with Billy too. Like the hospital steps in and interacts it. So when McMurphy comes back, there's only a couple people still there, which is a little bit different to them all still being there. Because in the book, like Kesey did indicate that the system did try to fix itself, but here, like there's no fixing it. Fletcher's just still in control. She wins the whole situation.
Yeah.
She's got a brace from a neck injury, and she's speaking in a thin, reedy voice. And the patients are all whispering amongst each other that he might have escaped. They're hoping that they're hoping that he did make it out somehow.
Yeah, they claim he took out 2 guards and ran away and stuff.
Yeah, magical thinking, right? You want a happier ending.
Yeah. But then pretty much right away, we find out, you're thinking, oh, well, yeah, what happened to Murphy? Where's Murphy? Oh, right. There's Big Murphy. So Chief is in his bed, and he sees McMurphy being led into bed and put down, and they take his shoes off for him, and they put him to bed, and he's like, okay, good, now we can leave. And he goes and he talks to him for a minute. He's like, okay, we're gonna leave now. I couldn't leave without you. You made me feel as big as a mountain. And there's a scene earlier that we didn't really get a chance to talk about that between the two of them, one of the few talking scenes for him where he's talking about, I guess it was his father who unfortunately like succumbed to alcoholism later in life. But like at the time when he was younger, he was a very big guy. And Jack Nicholson's character laughs because he's like, no, you're way bigger than me. But he's like kind of comparing McMurphy to his father, Chief does, by saying like, yeah, he was really big and you're really big like him. And big meaning like his personality and the way that he approaches life is big, right? Like he's just like does what he wants. Nobody can tell him what to do. He doesn't believe in any authority. And I can only imagine that like, for an indigenous person in like the 40s, 50s, whatever time that would have been 30s in the United States or in Canada, there's no way you could have just done whatever you wanted and gotten away with it. Like they would have just crushed your spirit, crushed your, feelings of self-determination. And that I think is what left that guy the shell of a man. And so like, so this is maybe what made Chief hide from the people, from the government, from the white people. And like he saw in McMurphy what he saw in his father, which is like a big personality that was being like repressed. And so he's like, we're gonna break out of here, so that you don't end up like him, kind of thing. And so once Chief sees that they've done this to McMurphy, he's like, I'm gonna take you with me, man. Like he sees the lobotomy scars. And he's like, I'm getting out of here, and you've made me feel as big as a mountain. And so he like smothers him with a pillow.
Out of love, it's a mercy
McMurphy.
kill.
Yeah, absolutely a mercy kill. Because there's no way that McMurphy is there anymore. That big personality is gone, and he's just this like shell, just like his father was. So he smothers him, grabs that hydrotherapy console off the floor with that cool music pulsing in the background, non-diegetically speaking.
The music is literally a
takes it.
saw, by the way. It is a saw
Yeah.
being played by a specialist who like was one of the only people that knew how to musically play a handsaw.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So he picks up the hydrotherapy console, Chekhov's hydrotherapy console, throws it through the window, climbs off, runs off into the distance. And that's just when Christopher Lloyd's character Tabor wakes up and he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, look at them go, fucking A, right on, go, go," and wakes everybody up and they all cheer him on. And yeah, that's where we leave it.
He runs off into the wilderness in one of the most amazing images in film history, I think.
It's a beautiful shot. Yeah. And it's a great bookend. It captures a similar perspective as the opening shot of the film.
Yeah. Very poetic, very like Chekhov, also like harkening back to like the very first like interaction when all the characters are being introduced.
Yeah, I appreciated that mention there, Ben.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what a film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Like no bones about it. Like I marry this film. This is an amazing classic that I think holds up today, like still vital performances and topics. Yeah.
Yeah, in spite of the problematic lead actor and the craziness of the difference between now and then and how some things also never change. Yeah, definitely put a ring on this one. It's a beaut. Really well done. Very sympathetic performances.
I'm torn between the pinky finger and the ring finger. I think for like a modern audience, if you're not like a film buff, I'd say this is like a difficult film to watch probably.
Maybe, but there is the fact that like Dourif and Lloyd and DeVito are alive and working today, so they're more recognizable than like we've watched a lot of 50-year-old movies, and a lot of the time you don't recognize you recognize maybe one or two of the young stars, but the rest of the cast might be completely unknown to you because they're from a different era and generation, and that makes them a little more inaccessible. But because they wanted young unknown actors who would kind of rally behind Nicholson and would see him as their leader, they wound up kind of future-proofing their cast in that way. I mean, I respect it, but I just think that maybe that element might make it a little bit more accessible than the average movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think for myself, like I love film. You know, I work in film. Like we're all film buffs, so I think we all enjoyed this kind of movie. But you know, I'd see like a non-film buff, like maybe not loving it.
That's
the
fair.
way that we love it. And I think it's still like I'd recommend it, but it's a movie I think I'd be like, hey, this won a bunch of Academy Awards, it has some great actors, it's like a timeless thing. It's a little old, but it's like a great movie. Like it's well like known as a great movie. And I think I would feel confident that they would like it, but not like 100% confident. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Unless they're like a
Totally
film buff,
fair.
you know?
I think the 6 or 7 people listening to this would probably appreciate this movie.
Bro, we're gonna get those rookie. We're gonna get that up to 10. No worries, no worries.
Oh no, I said 6, 7. We're gonna go viral.
Boy. Yeah. What about you, Ben? What fingers do you bust out?
Yeah, like I agree with the ring finger. I think it's a beaut. But now, yeah, you know, given like I don't think we're speaking to just the average film goer here. I think we are speaking to the film buff community and people that are willing to sit through a podcast about a 50-year-old film and maybe even watch the 50-year-old film in preparation. Maybe. I think anyone that those people will enjoy this one. Yeah.
Yeah, anyone that listens to your guys' podcast like is probably a film buff, and I'd say like if they haven't already seen it, I'd be surprised, and then they should just go see it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Word. Okay, and now for the remake game. Ben, what you got for us on this one?
Well, it's like they've already done Nurse Ratched TV series, and
I
don't know. I think no.
Yeah, I don't really fuck with Ryan Murphy.
Dumb.
Otherwise, I would have.
It looked like Ryan Murphy, American Horror Story type garbage. It's not my jam. Sorry if you've ever been involved in one of those, Spencer.
No.
Good. Because you've got taste. But no, I think it would be interesting to do a series of like prequel, maybe like a TV series, but each episode is one of the characters of this before they ended up in the hospital, and just kind of explore those characters a little bit better. And when I saw Brad Dourif, I couldn't help but picture Rami Malek as a modern day Billy Bibbit. I think he would be good for that. And yeah, you can pick whatever group of guys that you would want to use for the other characters. You can make up some new characters. But I think like a series of sort of short films, but like a HBO type thing, like hour long type series.
Maybe with each one having a different director, so it has a really different style.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Like a director that would complement each character's story.
Or you can even mess with genre
Oh, you?
that approach.
Hell yeah.
How about you, Spencer?
Ooh, it's tough. I think, I mean, I never watched Ratchet, the series, but I think Sarah Paulson, that actress, is like one of the two people I think is kind of perfect for it, as well as the lady from The Crown, who's also in like Harry Potter, who plays like the really hated professor. I hate Harry Potter, but
Imelda Staunton.
Yeah, she's in The
I think
Crown.
that's
Is
right.
that her?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Imelda Staunton. Yeah, she has that face that's like a disapproving school teacher, which I think the Ratchet character really it needs to have the right person.
Yeah,
you
she
know?
actually looks more like the description in the books than Louise Fletcher does. Louise Fletcher's appearance was based on the play, actually, because they couldn't find a woman that big. That was a great actress in New York. I just think they didn't try that hard.
Probably didn't try that hard.
Yeah, it's usually the case.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Jack Nicholson already showed his dick to everybody else. And
Yeah, they're just like, I don't
having
need
that.
part of this. Part of this sexual harassment movie. I'm trying to think of like guys that have like that much swagger these days, and I can't really, I think like
Marcelo Hernandez.
Leonardo DiCaprio has like a bit of playboyness to him, but now that he's
he is the new Jack Nicholson.
He's kind of the new
really
Jack
is.
Nicholson. I
I
think
guess, right? Like with his under 29 age limit, like he in a lot of ways is new Jack Nicholson. Jack just would appreciate and date women in the 30s, 40s, and maybe even 50s.
I think he showed in like Flower Moon that he can play like an older character that's kind of like underwrote as well.
They get older and I stay the same age.
Plus, he's still doing whatever he can to get that big old Oscar. He literally had to kill himself on camera basically to get it.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what you just said there, Ben. Mind blowing.
Just get Pedro Pascal to play him.
Oh God. I actually had Oscar Isaac, so like close to Pedro Pascal, but I think Oscar Isaac has a little bit more of that dangerous rogue element, where I think he'd really be a good McMurphy.
Pedro Pascal is too much of a daddy.
Yeah,
a little bit too much the nice guy. And I'd also have Ben Stiller direct because I do see it as a TV show, and but it could be done as a movie. Maybe it'd be like a 3-hour movie. I think with today's pacing. But I think Ben Stiller would be great at it because Severance and Escape from Dannemora are both like very unique and interesting casts in an isolated environment where they're kind of contained and caged in. So I think you really would know what to do with the subject matter. Maybe it'd be too much like other things he's done, but I think he'd be great at it. And he'd get good performances out of everybody.
Yeah, Stiller's a hugely underrated director. He's good.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Everything but Zoolander 2 that he's done is good. Zoolander 2, I'll give him a pass. I don't even remember
Electric Boogaloo.
I was just about to say Electric
the
Boogaloo.
money. Yeah.
It's the best.
It's like with Hangover. They basically just made it so bad because they're like, we don't want to do it. And they're like, what if you offer this money? Like, okay. And they just like made it so bad, the sequels. So they're like, we don't want to do this anymore.
And the third one was one of the most forgettable things I've ever seen in my life. Like all I remember is the giraffe thing from the ad. It's just out of my.
I don't think I
feel like the second movie is like a slightly better version of the first one, though. Like the second one is the one that has Dr. Ken in it. and he is, I think, the best character in the franchise.
Yeah,
But
that
Did
was a
You Die
crazy turn.
became a big part of the lexicon, a big part of pressuring people into doing drugs at raves. Honestly,
Okay, quick question for you guys. Do you think that this or The Shining is Jack Nicholson's most like iconic role?
I'd have
ooh,
to say The Shining.
probably The Shining. Yeah, yeah, The Shining's just so. It. I don't know if it's hard to say that if I even think that The Shining is a better movie than this, because I think this is more like an important, but maybe stuff being important doesn't matter to it being best, because The Shining is just such a great deviation from the source material, and even has one of the great sequels. Like I think Doctor Sleep is one of the best sequels ever made. It's not on the same level as it, but The Shining's pretty fucking great.
I mean, there's a lot of movies I maybe I'm like, it's not fair that I'm not
They're
including
just like
them.
they're both
But
tens for
those,
me. I think if you ask someone on the street to pick one, they would pick The Shining. I just think it's endured more.
the face, the smile is iconic. It's true.
Yeah, it's on people's t-shirts all the time. There's no t-shirts of the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest image.
Now, other question for you both. Which movie do you think that he plays himself more in? This or The Departed?
Ooh.
God, that's
I
hard.
think this is him in 1975, and The Departed is him in like 2005.
And I
Amazing
think
answer.
that's why I would choose this one, because he doesn't murder anyone in this. And I know that he also wasn't murdering people in 2006. So like the murdering is the extra difference. I doubt that he ever killed anybody.
Natalie Wood.
I mean, maybe he killed somebody. Question for you: did Jack Nicholson get away with murder?
She fell funny.
The fact that he was in Mars Attacks and Batman and his career kept going on means that he did get away with murder.
Totally. I mean,
Over and over and over again. Yeah.
God, Mars Attacks is an eminently watchable film. I love that.
It's very funny, but it's just easy to make fun of.
True. It's just so silly. Yeah, to round out my cast, to finish off there, I would have Dallas Goldtooth play the chief. He's shown up in a lot of good stuff like Reservation Dogs. Dallas Goldtooth is a great indigenous performer that I think kind of embodies some of the same energy. If you've not seen any Reservation Dogs, I'd recommend that show too. My Nurse Ratched would be Amy Adams.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah, I think she could nail it. I think if anyone could get a second Oscar for it, it'd be Amy Adams. I almost went with the Streeper. She'd be good too. But then I was like, oh, Amy Adams. Amy Adams can just... I've never seen her do this level of cruel, and I think she has it in her.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, and then I'd round out the cast with Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd. Because they're still around, why not just have them do it again?
Why not? Nicholson's still around too.
Yeah, but fuck him.
Mm-hmm.
You can play one of the other old people in the background.
Nicholson.
Is that a threat or a promise there, Jim?
Okay, cool. Unless anybody has any closing thoughts, I think we'll just wrap it up for the season, and we'll see you all in 2026 for 1976.
I'll just say thank you to Spencer for joining us today. And thank you to Jim for making all of this really happen. The editing and the production and the promotion and arranging the guests and the times and writing most of the summaries. So thanks for doing what you do here, Jim. And thanks again to anyone who's listening. And yeah, we'll see you next year.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Spencer, for coming. Thanks to the audience. And have a great night, everybody.